Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Our Tuesday usuals going to be with us today. Sharif Ishak in 15 minutes. The Saints are quite literally walking up to training camp right now. We'll talk to Sharif from the Saints facility, Glenn West, in 30 minutes talking Tigers. Saints have new uniforms. We got to talk about it. I've got a feature going every single day on LouisianaSports.net about a specific position group for LSU. I talked about the guards this morning, and I'll do that this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Rhett Lashley says the SEC's top-heavy, not very deep. I'll comment. And Jimmy Graham has stepped away from football. We'll do all of that over the next 2 hours. Got Taylor Sharp and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Let's get it started the way we do every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
We'll start with LSU football today as we get to Sharif on Saints coming up here in the next segment. Blake Baker, LSU defensive coordinator, was with the guys on OTB this morning with Jake and Matt, and I thought I had some interesting things to say. One of them I found particularly interesting because we talked to Brian Kelly at SEC Media Days, and he has spoken very, very openly about LSU's focus on the season opener. And to a degree, from our perspective, on the outside, not from the inside, on the outside, that's kind of hollow talk. Like, oh, you're more focused on this game, so you weren't that focused on USC, or you weren't focused at all on Florida State, or like, what does that mean you're more focused on this one, or you're making it more of a goal? And Brian Kelly has said outwardly, he's like, I'm not going to get you too deep into the weeds, but I'm just going to let you know that, like, we've got an internal goal here. And the players talked about it, and we've certainly highlighted it as the media, and we heard from him multiple times in multiple different rooms last week in Atlanta about it. But Blake Baker cracked the door a little bit this morning on just what it means that, hey, this is a little bit different as far as season opener. This is Blake Baker this morning on OTB.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? And I think that's the coolest thing about Coach Kelly, man. He's always learning. He's always adapting. I think he does it year to year based off the opponent. Also, who is on our current roster. And I think we have a very mature roster that can handle, us. Some when you have a young team, sometimes you can build it up too much, right? And so I think he does a fantastic job with that. But I'm excited about it. I know we're doing some things differently in fall camp, and we haven't gotten necessarily into the nuts and bolts of what those things are going to be. But, again, I think it's just created a little more sense of urgency with our guys, too.
And I'll add to that because you don't want to play a minute and a half, 2-minute soundbite here on the radio show. So that was the gist of it. But he also included in that bite a little bit later that, we had our spring practice, and then we came back and worked for a week. And in that last week of spring practice, we did Clemson install. Like, he said that on the record. And I don't know. I can't speak to the end of Brian Kelly's first few springs here. And I don't know if they talked about Florida State then or if they talked about USC then. I don't know. But it feels like that was a little bit different. Now, how much help can you do over 3 or 4 practices in April when you're talking about a game that's going to be played at the end of August, early September? I don't know that either. But that cracks the door and shows me a little bit more than just simply, yeah, we're focused. I would put 2 bites together. That one from Blake Baker and then Brian Kelly, who said at Media Days that we haven't necessarily worried about the depth chart in the spring. We've worried about that in the fall. We're going to get more closer to that in the spring so that when we get to the fall, we know who we're preparing. So to me, these are the 2 things that I would suggest are Clemson-centric for what LSU's doing that are different from what they've done the last few openers. 1, give a little bit of time to that opponent in the spring. And 2, get to your depth chart more quickly at the very beginning of camp. You don't need to have a 3-week position battle. Cut it down to 5 practices. Okay, this is the guy. Go. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know if it's going to work or not. But I do know that Brian Kelly has taken it upon himself since he took this job to change and adapt. It hasn't created championships, but, well, probably should have kept Corey Raymond around. Did it. Well, this defensive staff, not really getting it done, changed it. Well, we weren't going to buy players. It didn't work. Changed it. Now, you got to win games. You can't just change as the wind blows and say, oh, well, he's changing. That's good. You have to win games. But he's doing things differently. And I think that he should be applauded to an extent for that. Got to win games, though, as we said. Second part of this, Blake Baker talking on OTB. They got a lot of transfers coming in. They might start 6 or 7 transfers in this game against Clemson. They might. And that's a challenge for a defensive coordinator to come in and mesh all of those personalities together on a unit right out of the gate. And Blake Baker talked about the challenges that presents.
I think it's probably spread out across the board like you just talked about when you've got a really, really good, strong group of upperclassmen mixed in with some younger classmen that have played some football as well. But those guys, they spend more time in the weight room and out on the field running 110s than they do, in practice, especially this time of year. So to see those guys in that leadership, getting out there for some team runs this summer and watching them, man, it's imperative. And the unselfishness, again, we have a lot of really good players, in my opinion, but they're all bought into one common goal. So that makes it we got a chance to have a special unit based off of those things.
That all sounds very good. This is optimism season. We're still in July. That all sounds great, but it is a challenge to take that many transfers from that many different systems and get everybody on the same page. Because as we know on defense, 10 guys can do their job. If one fails, it can be a real bad situation. And you've got to get everybody on the same page. And right now, Blake Baker can't do much. He can recruit. He can run camps, but he can't be out there working with guys on the practice field. And that's what those player-led practices are for. That's what the strength and conditioning staff is for. And that's the part of the program that has to shine in June and July. And we talked to 3 players last week, and by all accounts, it is. So you take their word for it, and you hope that you see that at the end of August. Last one here, and this is a great question by Jake and Flynn. Like, what position group do you want to watch? Because Blake Baker's obviously coaching the linebackers, but he's got to have an eye on the entire defense as the coordinator, clearly. And so when I heard the question asked of Blake Baker, like, what position group are you going to be watching? I was like, well, he's going to watch the linebackers. Like, he's the linebackers coach. He's got position coaches that are doing the rest of that, and that's what I'm thinking as someone listening to the interview. But that's not where Blake Baker went, and he immediately went to one specific position group, and that's at safety.
Probably twofold. I think the safeties, especially with A.J. Halsey coming in, most of the guys we had through spring practice, so you have somewhat of an expectation of those guys going into the fall camp. And the defensive tackle position, same thing. We got some new guys that weren't here in the spring. When you look at Bernard and the 2 freshmen, Buddy Mathis and Brandon Brown. And really the young guys at linebacker. I'm really intrigued to see, what those 3 incoming freshmen do. Again, we had Charles Ross here. But overall, I'd say the safety position is probably what I'll be and most interested in. And seeing how those guys gel. I think you have to have such chemistry back there together. And we've been mixing and matching them this summer, and I think it'll be an intriguing position battle.
As do I. And I don't have a great feel for it right now. But I think to the point that I made at the beginning where we're talking about trying to get to the depth chart as quickly as possible when you get into fall camp, I think that when you look at safety, like, you've got a lot of options. Jordan Gilbert is back, now healthy. Played with one shoulder last year. He's healthy. Okay? Well, you got Deshaun Spears and Joel Rogers and Javian Toviano back. So that's 3 guys who were on the team last year that didn't have a big impact, whatever reason. Rogers and Spears are freshmen. Toviano still changing positions. Is he a corner? Is he a nickel? Is he a safety? They were moving around. None of those guys played a big role. Do they play a big role moving forward? Depends. And then you bring in 2 guys, and I'm not going to count Mansour Delane in this because I think he's a corner right now. I will mention him here and then kind of push it off to the side because I don't think that's where he's going to play. I think he could. But you've got Tamarcus Cooley that you bring in and A.J. Halsey that you bring in who profile safeties. And to me, like if I had to handicap it right now, I'm going to go with Jordan Gilbert and AJ Halsey. Like that's if I had to handicap it. But I realize like I'm leaving Deshaun Spears on the sideline in that scenario. And if I kind of had it, if I could wish it into existence, and the best two men won at that position, but the best two men were AJ Halsey and Deshaun Spears, that's probably preferable to me. But you got a lot of guys. That's like 6 that you can choose from for 2 spots. And you can kick somebody down a nickel or dime, and maybe get 3 of those guys on the field. It depends on what your corners do and how Corey Raymond wants to handle that. But it is a very, very interesting spot. And when the head coach comes to the podium multiple times over the course of a season and says, we have to play better at safety, like you get the picture. That's a very kind way to say it in front of a microphone in a composed manner, maybe wearing a sport coat. Probably not as kind in the film room and on the practice field when you're letting Nicholls State and South Carolina and Ole Miss rip off 60-yard touchdown runs. Not great. So they got to play better. And it was interesting to me that, yes, Blake Baker did tap dance around the whole defense, which is his role, but he started at safety and he finished at safety and called safeties by name with A.J. Halsey coming in, who, by the way, wasn't at spring ball. So it's a unit that's got to play better. Brian Kelly said in Atlanta, like, we have to play better defense to win a national championship. That can't be any clearer. It is what it is. They've got to be better on that group, and Blake Baker has a lot of confidence in that building. And I think there's a good amount of confidence in the LSU fan base that Blake Baker's team in that unit's going to take one more step forward this year. Hopefully it's a big one for the Tigers as they start with Clemson coming up in, I think, six weeks from right now. So Saints reporting to camp in Metairie. Sharif Ishak is there. We'll talk to him coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Businesses like yours are the soul of our community. You deserve someone who'll deliver the internet services you deserve. That's why local businesses rely on Rev Business, 90 years of building connections. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority.
It's our purpose.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $22,500 off MSRP on the brand new 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie with $22,500 off MSRP with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty that comes with all new Bayou Automotive vehicles. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Saints reporting to camp. Seeing a lot of players rolling up. I got a question. Cam Jordan's get up a little bit. Not that it's a bad look. He's got the windsuit going, which is a 90s kid I can absolutely respect. It's like 100 degrees outside, and we're going in a windsuit? Like it's just not seasonal. It's a lot, but Cam can pretty much do whatever he wants in New Orleans. He's been there a long time. Speaking of being there a long time, Sharif Ishak, WDSU, covering the Saints. NOLA native joins us now on the Tim's Firearms Hotline. The offseason's over, Sharif. Are you excited about that?
Yay. I can't wait. I don't know why I'm idiotically wearing a black suit today. I guess I'm just like Cam. I'm not even thinking. We're just doing whatever we can.
Yeah, but you need to look nice on the camera. Cam's just walking from the car to the facility. I think he can pretty much go with some gym shorts and a T-shirt if he would like to. But yeah, a black suit, that's a lot, Sharif. You need to go with a nice summer suit today.
Well, I'm all about black makes me look thinner, so I'm just gonna keep wearing the thin colors, and it makes me sweat a lot. Got to get chiseled for the summer season, dude.
All right, well that's good to hear. I want to talk about Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. We know that both guys had their health issues last year. Both guys appear to be healthy. Do you anticipate big years for those two guys?
I anticipate solid years from those guys, depending on who the quarterback's going to be, of course. But, yeah, if they stay healthy, I think that 1-2 punch with the help of Brandon Cooks, should elevate their game a little bit more. I thought that, they would have stayed healthy last year.
Sharif, let me stop you, Sharif, because we got a little bit of a cell phone issue. I'll get Taylor to call you back. Just a little overmodulated there, and I'm just can't do 10 minutes with Sharif, just choppy like that. But I do think that there's reason for confidence in Olave and Shaheed, assuming they're on the field, and that is a hard thing to assume in this sport. But it's truthfully hard to assume for everyone in this sport. Now, those two guys are on the smaller side for high-end wide receivers. We know that the Saints have not gone out and gotten a big-bodied wide receiver. They haven't gotten a big-bodied pass catcher. They're relying on those two guys with quickness and speed. But they've both been really, really productive. So, Sharif, I think we've got you back now. I know they're not the biggest guys, but they have been really productive. So you can continue on. Are you feeling good about what they can do this year?
Yeah, both are speedy guys. And with them finally being healthy, I do think they can have solid seasons. Like I said, depending on who the quarterback's going to be. Yeah. But even if it's, Shuck or Spencer Rattler, I do think they're going to have solid seasons. I think with having Brandon Cooks and that locker room to help them out, because they're almost the same type of players, and he can help shape them a little bit better in terms of route running and, being able to put themselves in a good position to make bigger plays. So, yeah, I anticipate solid seasons from the two guys. I really do. I mean, I'm not sure both can go over 1,000, but I think both can hover around that number if once again, if healthy for a 17-game season. I like both of them. I liked them the previous two seasons. until all the injuries happened, I thought that they really give that offense that explosion that they need.
You've talked to a lot of over the last 2 years, certainly over the offseason. Like, how is he mentally about trying to come back from concussions, which can be pretty scary?
Yeah, no, he says he feels good. He just, wanted to make sure during the off season that he went to, the right doctors and made sure that, he checked out right. And, I do wonder, man, that first pass over the middle of the field when there's a defender there, how is he gonna be? How is he gonna take that? If he gets hit over the middle, is he gonna be fine, or is he gonna be a little timid? Because those are serious injuries. Concussions are nasty. And, you don't want to get concussed again, because I feel like another bad concussion in his career could possibly be over. So, but just talking to him, he seems good. He's ready to go, feels good, put on a little bit of weight, pretty happy. I think a lot of people are happy to have him back and healthy, and that's, a sign that's really good for this offense. They truly need him. They truly need him in a very bad way. They still have him on contract through next season, and then have a decision to make after next season. But I think that, I think he's going to, have that season to where he earns a nice contract.
When Rashid Shaheed showed up, he was a speed burner. Just run down. Derek Carr famously just run, and he hit him for the game-clinching pass down the left sideline. But I felt like last year he kind of evolved into a more complete receiver because he had to be. They didn't have anybody else. What do you think about how well he's evolved as a total receiver in his time in New Orleans?
Yeah, punt returner, being a speed receiver, being a possession receiver. I think he's evolved in that. It's just unfortunate that punt return that, he scored a touchdown against the Buccaneers essentially was his last play. He hurt his knee. And I think that he was taking steps in the right direction, which you saw in training camp under new receivers coach, Doug Williams. So, Dub had him, getting into that right mind frame. And I think it carried over into the regular season. And I think that continues. I really do think that he will continue to evolve and develop in terms of the skills and the position he's going to play.
We'll try one more time with Sharif, because we still have some time, and I want to talk about with the players getting there and kind of the vibes in camp. We had the signal that was good, and then it kind of chopped up once again. So we'll try Sharif one more time, because the Saints, if you're unaware and you're still in the midst of your summer routine and summer vacation and all that kind of stuff, they are arriving at the facility today, and they'll be on the field tomorrow. So and apparently vibes are pretty good over there. We've talked a lot and extensively about what the rest of the football world thinks about what New Orleans is going to be this year. That doesn't matter today. Today is about them getting back in the facility and really pushing off the dock in a new era with a new head coach and a new quarterback who is now under contract. So we'll try Sharif one more time here and kind of see what his vibe check is for today. How does it feel over there? We know that the rest of the football world isn't expecting much of the Saints, but that's probably not going to put a damper on today when everybody gets to the facility and gets ready to get to work.
Is this a sign to come, Hunt? If you cannot hear me and I'm chopping up, are we going to get another 5-12 season?
I'll have to contact your cell phone provider, but see what you think.
Yeah, I feel like every time I'm at the Saints facility doing these things, it chops up a little bit. But no, the vibe is good, man. Like I said, throughout the entire offseason with Kellen Moore and a new staff, I think that everyone seems relaxed, a breath of fresh air. I think everyone's calm, composed, they're cool. I think that, they're ready to see where this offensive-minded, innovative young head coach and his staff can lead them. And having Brandon Staley, a proven head coach who's, a good defensive-minded coach. So I think the vibes are good, but I just don't know if that's going to translate to win-loss for them this year. I say down the line it will work, but maybe not this year.
What do you expect to see different than what you've seen the entire time you've covered the Saints? Because it was kind of a continuation from Peyton into Allen and kind of doing things very, very similarly. What do you expect to see different over the next couple of weeks in training camp?
You're going to see the pace of play. I think you're going to see the things move quicker. You saw a lot of it during the offseason, Hunt, and I think you're going to see, the practices move quick, plays move quicker. We didn't see a lot of that under Dennis. So I think you're going to see, hey, let's get it going. Let's move. Let's get in a lot of plays. Let's see a lot of players. We're going to develop some young guys. I think you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of the things that you did not see under Dennis Allen. Maybe you saw under Sean Payton in the early years, but you're going to see something new. You're going to see something innovative. You're going to see something fast and fun. And I think the fans are probably going to like it. I think for the most part they're behind it right now, and I think they just know it's a process. But they're going to see that over the next, let's just say a month during this training camp.
And obviously we know nobody's putting pads on tomorrow. Nobody's, going through 11 on 11 full contact. We got to ease things in. But where will your eyes go the first time you get a look at this team on the practice field?
Well, it's obvious. Do I name another position that's not quarterback? All right, let's stick away from quarterback.
Okay.
How about let's go defensive end. Let's watch what the defensive ends do over the next, few days, or even whenever they get into the pads for the first few padded practices. I want to see how the defensive ends look. I want to see them drop back because you've seen that a lot throughout this offseason in Staley's defense. I just want to see how that looks. I want to see how Cam and Chase and Carl drop back into coverage whenever the lights really come on with the pads on. So, I'm really interested to see that. And the outside corners, Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm going to stick with the defense because I think a lot of people will want to see if they can prove, the naysayers wrong, right. I mean, because they're, there's a lot of question marks. Can Alontae, play the outside? They got to prove him wrong. I mean, look, they struggled. He struggled at times last year. I think Kool-Aid was up and coming at the end of the season, but now we got to put him to test in a 17-game schedule. And can they actually, cover these receivers without committing a lot of penalties?
We'll see. Try to stay cool if you can out there. And we'll talk next week after they've had a few practices under their belt. Yep,
you'll get a whole week, and I believe you might get me on the first padded practice. I think it's next Tuesday. I have to look at the schedule, but we're getting close. It'll be that Monday or Tuesday.
We like that. Enjoy, Sharif. Thanks, man.
All right, Hunt. Sorry for the phone issues.
All good. Sharif Ishak, WDSU. I was a phone punchline on this radio station for a lot of time between 2011, 2013, 14-ish. It was just a big struggle trying to get that to work out. So sometimes it doesn't work out, but we were able to reconnect a couple of times, just check things down, get a little connection, move the chains, and then continue on with the interviews. Appreciate Sharif making a little bit of time for us. And I think the point stands. Like today at Saints Camp, tomorrow at Saints Camp, it's just about positivity. It's about guys getting out there, moving around a little bit, having the fans opportunity to get out there at some point and check it all out. We'll get a little bit more deep into things after preseason games, and certainly when things get into games that actually count. But for right now, no reason to throw a fit. Just go out there and see what the black and gold can do and have some enjoyable vibes as far as the on-the-field stuff goes. There is one off-the-field storyline that I'll get to here in a little bit that's not the best. We'll do that a little bit on later in this hour. When we come back, Glenn West talking Tigers. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. Safety can be a big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. And if you think, well, there's nothing I can really do about that, well, there can be. David Duvall and his team can help mitigate that risk. You can't eliminate it. Bathroom can be a hazardous place, but you can mitigate that risk. Non-slip floors, showers that have a bench, walk-in tubs that are safer and more convenient. There's someone in your life that's aging, wants to stay at home, but you feel like might have some issues in the bathroom. Do what you can with One Bath and Closets to make sure that doesn't happen. Get the free consultation. Just sit down with David, talk to him. Say, hey, this is what I'd like to do. What kind of options do you have? And he's happy to show you. You can customize it to your needs, to your specifications, and financing options are available. 0% up to 18 months. That's the same as cash. Check out the website. There are great pictures there. There are great reviews there. And you can get the free consultation right there on the website. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online. OneBathAndClosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chugging right along here on this Tuesday. Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, joins us on Tuesdays, does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how we doing?
Doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. Good to see you in Atlanta, but we didn't have a chance to catch up post MLB draft, so I feel like we need to get a couple of thoughts on that before we transition over to football. Biggest surprise for you with the draft happenings, LSU's roster and signing class?
I think we had an idea that Ethan Fry was maybe going to go in the draft, and I just didn't think that he'd be, a third-round pick. And I actually learned from you that he signed for something like 7 figures. I mean, I think probably that was maybe the big draft day surprise for me. Being a third-round pick, so happy for that guy. Just all about the right things, and finally was healthy this year and able to help his hometown team, capture a second championship in 3 years. But I mean, I think we had an idea that was going to happen. I think really there weren't a whole ton of surprises with this draft. I think kind of maybe the surprises were maybe the guys that pulled their name from the draft early, Omar Cerna and Reagan Ricken both deciding to not even entertain the draft as high school prospects and come to school. I thought that was two really big wins for LSU. But all the guys that got drafted, I think we all pretty much had an idea that they were probably going to get drafted and probably sign. You maybe lost 1 or 2 more high school players than you ideally wanted, but I still think LSU came out really, really smelling like roses in this draft and got some really key pieces back in the fold and some really talented freshmen in this on this roster as well.
You surprised Stanfield didn't get drafted?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think, of the 3, I know we had talked about it going into the draft of Cowan, Fry, and Stanfield. I think maybe Stanfield was the one that you felt maybe the most, maybe the best about going into the draft. And so I'm sure there was a number that he had that maybe teams just weren't willing to meet, and that's why he didn't get drafted. If he had a lower number, was willing to just sign, he probably would have been drafted. But this is a guy that's going to come back and be, your veteran leader, and a guy that I think has a ton of respect in that locker room. You could listen to the way that Jay Johnson spoke about him throughout the postseason. You feel really good about what LSU has coming back in the outfield with him, Brown, and Curiel, spearheading that championship outfield that you just had.
And then last one, I mean, how do you feel about the roster now that it feels like it's just about set for the fall?
Yeah, I kind of broke down the roster in a couple different pieces last week, and The pitching staff is going to be loaded. I mean, I think the depth and the quality of pitching arms on this staff. You lost some really good talented players and Kate Anderson and Anthony Ianson, but if the year two guys develop the way that I think most of us are hoping or expecting that they do develop, they're going to be, I think, at the catalyst or the core, kind of identity of this team with Kason Evans and Maverick Rizzi, Cooper Williams, William Schmidt. You have obviously Zach Cowan returning, who's a veteran who's started for you in Omaha and has some really good SEC experience now under his belt. And then the arms that they brought in. I mean, Danny Lockenmeyer again is a guy that I just keep hearing really good things about in terms of just how big of a win that was for LSU to get him on board. You finished it off with Cooper Moore, who's a right-handed pitcher from Kansas who has a lot of potential and to be a very valuable weekend piece for LSU, and that didn't even get to the freshman arms they're bringing in with Ricken and with Marcos Paz, who's got a lot of fans in the scouting world. So they are going to be really really loaded on the pitching staff. I think that's going to be the identity of this team again next year. Not to say that the offense won't be, but I think that if you're choosing between the two, LSU is going to have a lot of teams on their heels next year because of their pitching staff and the quality arms that are here.
All right, let's transition over to football. You were there in Atlanta for the LSU day back on Monday, which seems like it was 2 months ago at this point. Did you pick anything up from your time with the players with Brian Kelly?
Yeah, I think probably just the concise messaging that they were delivering there on Monday was maybe a little bit more, I guess, aggressive than any other team that I kind of listened to throughout the entirety of the week. I mean, I think that they, very much expect to be a playoff team. I think they very much expect to be among the top teams in the conference competing for a championship in the SEC. And, if those goals are, met, then that probably means that they've had a really good regular season and that they've checked off a lot of the boxes that they haven't yet checked under Brian Kelly. And so I think that they came in with a concise message. I know the 1-0 thing is going around a lot in the post media days, just talking points and discussion. But I do think that this is going to be a group that really focuses in on just being more fundamentally sound. I think they have the talent and the athletes now to match up with pretty much anybody that they play. It's just going to be about, do those talents and does all the pieces they brought in gel together at the right time and are doing the right things. And I think that's going to be what these next 5 or 6 weeks are really going to tell us a lot here in fall camp.
As far as Perkins goes, it's a guy that got brought up a good bit back in Atlanta and kind of what the plan for him is. Witt talked about him a bunch. What do you see? That's a kind of a tired storyline, but it still exists, so I guess we still got to talk about it.
Yeah, look, I think they're going to move him to that off-ball linebacker role, and I think the real interesting decision or question that I have going into this thing is, one, how healthy is he? How much does he trust that knee? I guess coming back into fall camp when he's going to have the pads on, he's going to be back at full activity, and then number two is just, what does LSU want to do with that spot? I mean, he's in a very unique position here where he's not going to be on the inside in the box, and he's not going to be obviously a corner or a safety. He's going to be kind of that tweener guy. And LSU has some different options there if they want to explore with like a nickel safety. I mean, Tamarcus Cooley is a guy that played a little bit at the line of scrimmage back in the spring at that nickel spot when Perkins was out. He's also played some deep safety. He's an option that maybe LSU could roll out there on some defensive plays, but they're going to want Perkins out there. I think the majority of the time it's just going to be about the balancing act for him and how much of a workload that they're going to want to give him and how they kind of devise or how they scheme around whether or not he's rushing the passer, whether or not he's dropping in coverage or covering tight ends and slot receivers, things of that nature. Like, I think there's some things they're going to have to work out here over the next few weeks because they just didn't have him in the spring. And so getting a good look at him in fall camp is going to be really important. And but I think they have options there, and they have a lot of ways in which they can work him into this defense and have him be an effective player for them, and really help maybe boost his draft stock again after that injury from last year.
When we talk about guys coming back from injury, Perkins and Weeks are the first two guys that come up. I've talked about Jordan Gilbert a little bit with the shoulder surgery. I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about Jacoby and Guillory. What are your anticipation for him in the fall and into the season?
He'll definitely be in the mix. I think last year you could definitely see LSU was on fumes there towards the end of the season with their interior D-line depth, and they've done a good job of boosting that up, whether it's through internal development with guys like Ahmad Bro and Dominic McKinley, who are expected to take those next steps. And then the two transfer portal adds. I think they brought in Sadir Mitchell back in the winter session, and then Bernard Gooden in the spring session. I think those two guys are going to factor in heavily to what they do on the interior D line, and then Guillory is going to have a spot there too. I think Guillory to me is going to be one of those guys that you ask to go out there and you probably ease him back a little bit more than the others, just because that torn Achilles is a really tough injury to come back from any athlete, much less one that weighs upwards of 290, 300 pounds. So I would imagine that they work him in as part of a rotation, but that he pairs well next to Ahmad Bro. He pairs well next to Bernard Gooden. I think he could be a real run stuffer for this team, and obviously a leader too. I mean, this is a guy that we've talked to a ton over the last couple of years and is a very well-respected voice in that locker room. And so I think there's a role for him. I just don't think it's going to be maybe a every down 50, 60 snap kind of guy. He's going to be very much part of a rotation, I think, on that interior D line.
Glenn, we appreciate it. Next time when we talk, we'll be just a few hours, just 48 hours away from camp reporting. So we'll do it then.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, all your team coverage, recruiting coverage. They got you covered over at Go 24/7. As I'm having these conversations, and I had a dozen, 18 conversations just like the one I just had with Glenn last week in Atlanta. And what I keep going back to is, like, yeah, I'd rather have Glenn Dorsey at defensive tackle. Like, that's preferable. I'd rather have Chad Lavallee at defensive tackle, Kyle Williams at defensive tackle. That's preferable. But if I can also have Dominic McKinley and Ahmad Bro and Jacoby Guillory and Sadir Mitchell and Bernard Gooden, and I can rotate them in, that's also a strength. Again, my preference would be to have the dude. If a lot of dudes, that's good too. And I just mentioned safety at the top of the show. I'd rather have Eric Reed and LaRon Landry back there. I'd rather have Jamal Adams back there. But if I've got my pick and I've got Jordan Gilbert and A.J. Halsey and Deshaun Spears and Joel Rogers and Tamarcus Cooley and, you've got a lot of options there. You either need to use the depth to your advantage to always stay fresh, or preferably take those 6 lottery tickets, 6 at defensive tackle and 6 at safety, and 2 of them hit, and they're second-team all-league players. That's good enough to win. And that's what I think the identity of this LSU team is. I'll probably flesh this out a little bit more as we get into camp, but that's just where my brain is going when I talk about this team. Because there are very few positions on the field that I look at and go, they just don't have enough guys there. Like, they're really counting on that dude, and if that dude doesn't do it, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, maybe running back? Like, do you want Caleb Jackson and Harlan Berry to be your main 2 guys? Like, you're putting a lot on Caden Durham there. But outside of that, like, you have options pretty much everywhere. You have a billion options at receiver. You've got multiple options at tight end. I just went through the defensive line. You've got a ton of edge rushers. Maybe linebacker, you're not quite as deep because you've got 3 true freshmen. But, they've just got a lot of people. And when you have that much depth, 1, you can withstand injuries, but 2, you can withstand some non-performers that you just bring the next guy up and hope he is a performer. It's, I'd rather the superstar team, but there's something to be said for a team that's just got a ton of depth too, especially in the transfer portal era where not a lot of teams have it because their depth leaves. LSU added a bunch of depth from the transfer portal. So I think that's a good thing. That's the strength of this team. I think it's the star power when you go to the quarterback. He's a top 3 quarterback in the country by every publication you look at. That's star power, and it's the most important position. That's a big, big deal, obviously. But I think the rest of it's not necessarily a bunch of first-team All-Americans as much as it is, hey, I just got a lot of depth here. And that's a good thing to have. And I think they've done that intentionally. So Appreciate you hanging out with us here on this Tuesday. We got a ton to do in the second hour. I want to get to guard at LSU. That's a position I wrote a big feature on LouisianaSports.net earlier today. Rhett Lashley is talking about the SEC being top heavy and not deep. Brett Bielema's giving his thoughts on the playoff, and there's a circular theme that's tying all of these people at the podiums over media days together, and I'll get into that in the second hour. Jimmy Graham has officially stepped away from football after, I think, sailing around the world or something, so we'll talk about that in the second hour as well. Been a fun Tuesday. Stick with us. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every single car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Every single new purchase, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Every single new purchase, 3 years of complimentary maintenance. That's part of being a Genesis customer. It's part of the experience. The experience is what you get with a luxury brand. When I say Genesis, you should think luxury. When I say luxury, don't immediately go, I can't afford that. Take a look. Go to GenesisofBatonRouge.com and look around. Better yet, go to the website. Go to the dealership, Airline at Pico. Look around. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. See what the options are. It is a phenomenal line of vehicles, and it's as safe as any line on the road. The entire line, IHA top safety pick. Their Airline at Pico across from Women's Hospital. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Parrish Construction and Roofing.
This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parrishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs.
From your hometown, parrishbuilt.com.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
With bold leadership and a growing population, Louisiana is rewarding excellence, attracting high-value companies, and fueling opportunity. Louisiana is winning now, and the sky is the limit. With every region and industry growing across a beautiful state that's more than a culture, it's a community with a quality of life that's more than satisfying. It's sustainable because the Louisiana you thought you knew is better than ever now. Come home, Louisiana.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $22,500 off MSRP on the brand new 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie with $22,500 off MSRP with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty that comes with all new Bayou Automotive vehicles. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute.
Listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Closing up hour number 1 here on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. I've gotten a reputation here as somebody who just rants and raves about uniforms because that's what you do and you never like anything. And that's not necessarily true. Like, there have been some things I've really liked. And the Saints unveiled their new helmets back a week ago with the white. And I was like, these are not bad. Like, I like the white helmets. It's going to go with the color rush. I think that's going to work. I like what they've done here. So I don't just uniformly hate all new uniforms. I hate the ones that stink. And today, the Saints threw out an alternate uniform. And they stink. There are significant issues with this new uniform the Saints are throwing out there. Number one, the golds are not matching here. You've got the color rush gold, and then you've got the traditional helmet gold, and now you're going with gold uniforms, and they look washed out. They don't look like the traditional great Saints gold helmet. This is problem number one, and it leads into problem number two. They look like Vanderbilt. I cannot get Vanderbilt out of my head when I look at these Saints uniforms. If you're watching, Cassie's got the picture up. I've got Vanderbilt 2016, which is not something you want to be associated with. And these Saints uniforms, they look almost identical except for Vanderbilt's really ugly pads on the top of the shoulder pads. You don't want to be looking like Vanderbilt. The Saints look like Vanderbilt in these uniforms. And then we've got problem three, and I've got a prop for this. It's these ridiculous black helmets that have to go. When the Saints came out with the white helmets last week, I thought, oh, we've got the traditional ones, which are great. We've got these white ones, which are good. These dumb black ones they came out with are gone. They're not gone. They're back, and they're with the bad Vanderbilt uniforms. And look at Vanderbilt's helmet. It looks the same. This is a miss. It's a miss every which way. The Saints have significant issues to deal with on the field, in the coaching staff, with their contracts and with the salary cap. All these things need to be ironed out. Uniforms is like 43rd on the list of things they need to worry about, but this is a poor effort. And I don't like it at all. The Saints have some of the best looks in the NFL. The traditional home uniforms that they've worn forever and ever look awesome. The throwbacks look awesome. The color rush looks awesome. These are bad. It's a bad, bad look. These helmets with the 950 mini fleur-de-lis running down the center, it's not working. Go with the awesome helmets. But you can't really go with the awesome helmets with this uniform because the golds aren't going to match. It's a whole thing that just doesn't seem to be coming together. Taylor, do you have any thoughts on these uniforms? Because I'm out.
Yeah, they're awful. And we had Nick Underhill on this morning. And Nick's like, take it to a Home Depot and get them to color match. You cannot match the gold under any circumstances whatsoever. They've never been able to do it. Like the gold they had back when Deuce McAllister was here, they tried to do it, didn't match anyways. Like they cannot match the gold. Like it's your color. Where did you get it? Find a way to match it.
It's just, again, I'm aware that, especially in this sense, I'm not the target audience. It doesn't really matter. It's just the clothes they're going to wear to the game. But there should be some sort of pride in it. And this is just not a good look. Again, I bet if the Saints put up a poll, I bet if we put up a poll, we're going to put up a poll. We're going to put up a poll from the 104.5 ESPN account, and we'll read off the results 1 hour from now when the show ends. I bet over 80% of the Saints fans like these uniforms because, generally speaking, fans of a team love anything their team ever does. It's like Mississippi State baseball fans trying to convince me they like their team wearing black uniforms and black pants, which looks awful. But it's your team, so you love them no matter what, and you can't separate the two. But I suggest that 80% will like it, but it's bad. It just is. And I'm in charge of such uniform things on this here program, and I'm going to suggest we've got a bad uniform here. Now, on this flip side of things that actually do matter, we've got really significant breaking news here that there's a minute left, and I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to tease it for 5 minutes. It appears, based on what I'm being told, and I got to check this out, Yeah, Tyronn Mathieu is going to retire from football. He is not going to join the Saints this season. The Saints are reporting to camp right now, and Tyronn has posted that he will retire. So that is going to take a lot more than 1 minute, which we have left in this hour, to react to. It's funny that we get into kind of a humorous segment there, and then Tyronn Mathieu decides he's going to bail and put his cleats down for good. I can't say I'm completely stunned by this, but it is surprising on this day. You would imagine that would have been an announcement that would show up in April or something. So monster story, obviously. One we're going to get to in the second hour, obviously. So we'll lead off with that. If you missed any of the first hour, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. We caught up with the sound that Blake Baker had this morning on OTB and talked a lot about LSU's defense. You can find that on Hunt on LSU. Sharif Ishak joined us to talk about the Saints at 1:15. Glenn West with us at 1:30 talking LSU sports. So if you want any of that on demand, find it wherever you find your sound. Hunt Palmer Show. Talk about Tyronn, talk about Rhett Lashley, talk about guard at LSU as well in the second hour. We'll pause for Sports Center, get you some national headlines, and Louisiana legend is stepping away. We'll do that when we come back on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to industrial construction, River Parish Contractors can do it all. Mechanical, structural, custom fabrication, specialized welding, and turnaround services. Strategically located in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, we have the local team with the experience and commitment to safety to manage the most complex industrial projects. Period. Here's the deal. Partnering with us means your project is delivered on time, on budget, and most important, safely. River Parish Contractors, let's get building.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Bengal star defensive end Trey Hendrickson sticking with his game plan until he gets a new contract. He did not report with the rest of the team for training camp today. He's entering the final year of his current deal, is seeking a long-term contract that would put him in line with the NFL's other leading pass rushers. In addition, first-round pick defensive end Shamar Stewart has not reported due to his own contract dispute. Cincinnati can't afford not to have both players on the field, explains ESPN NFL analyst and former NFL receiver Andrew Hawkins.
These are impact starters. I mean, Hendrickson is like the guy on your defense. And when you go with the first-round pick, this is a guy that you expect to come in and start and make a big difference on defense. And you're missing both of them. Without them on this defense, yes, they're going to start slow, but more than that, this will and could derail the season. The Cincinnati Bengals' playoff hopes are done if these guys don't get in the building.
Patriots receiver Stephon Diggs cleared to practice for the first day of training camp tomorrow. He tore his right ACL last season in Week 8 playing for Houston. Baseball, Mets DH outfielder Starling Marte set to return from a bruised right knee tonight versus the Angels.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up on Wednesday, the ESPN Radio Rankem Series rolls along. Who are the top 5 offenses in the NFL? The answers might surprise you. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got a lot to do in the second hour, but we're just going to dive into it because there is breaking news that is, it's big news here in the state of Louisiana. Tyronn Mathieu stepping away from the NFL. He writes on his Instagram, "As I hang up my cleats, I'm filled with gratitude as I close this chapter of my life and officially retire from the game that shaped me in every way. From my first snap in college to my final play in the NFL, this journey has been nothing short of a blessing. Football gave me purpose, discipline, and memories that will stay with me forever. But more than anything, it gave me a community. To every coach who believed in me, every teammate who battled beside me, and every fan who showed up, cheered, and rode with me through the highs and lows, thank you. You gave me the strength when I needed it most, and your love carried me farther than I ever imagined. I hope I made you proud out there. This isn't goodbye. It's just the next chapter. Much love always, Tyronn." He's got a picture of a pair of cleats hanging up. And that is his message, that he is stepping away from football. Wow. Tyronn Mathieu's journey in this state is truly unique. And if you've listened to me at all, you know how much I hate how overused the word unique is. But his is unlike any other that I can recall. Tyronn showed up at LSU, a 3-star, undersized 5'9" cornerback. And nobody really thought much of it, and you probably couldn't pronounce his name if you looked at it. You'd probably pronounce the first name wrong, might pronounce the last name wrong. He showed up, and from the first game he ever played, which was against North Carolina and Atlanta, he made plays. I mean, he's running off the edge, forcing a fumble late in that game against North Carolina, and he never slowed down. His sophomore season at LSU is one of the greatest football seasons I've ever seen, and most of you have ever seen. He did things on a football field I have quite simply never seen before. Not that he did them once, he did it routinely. He would come off the edge and strip sack a quarterback. He would take a ball carrier 20 yards down the field and just take the ball away. the first game that year was against Oregon. You had the most electrifying punt returner in the country, DeAnthony Thomas. And Tyronn just knocked the ball free, scooped it up, scored a touchdown. Made a huge play right before halftime against West Virginia, set up a Chase Clayton touchdown. I've never heard a press box do what I heard the press box in Tiger Stadium do when he made that play, when he batted the ball up in the air and caught it and ran it down to the 1-yard line against Kentucky. Ran into the end zone against Kentucky. The whole press box, which is a working environment that generally doesn't react to anything, gasped. Not because he did it once, but because he did it every single week. You heard the whole press box do it. And then you have the Arkansas game where he runs the punt back, and that sets up that avalanche for LSU. And you've got the Georgia game where he returned a punt and then almost returned a second one and was a Heisman finalist as a nickelback. And then you got the press conference the next August. I was in that press conference. We didn't know why we were there, but we were called in. There's a press conference. I don't know what day or time it was. They were all the same in fall camp at that point. Could have been a Saturday, could have been a Tuesday. I have no idea. But Les Miles walked in, said, Tyronn Mathieu's no longer a part of the football team. And at that part, when the most famous player in the country is kicked off the team because he won't stop failing drug tests, like that's a black eye. That's banishment. That's humiliation. That's being blackballed from the community. But an amazing thing happened. Tyronn took that year off, entered the draft. Cardinals took a chance on him. He reunites with Patrick Peterson, and he goes on to have a brilliant professional career, an all-pro caliber professional career, one that netted him a world championship. And then, to finish it, he brought it full circle. And he signed on with the Saints. Not only his home state team, his home city team. And I remember back when I was on the LSU beat and we were talking about Tyronn Mathieu and like who's going to draft him. He was going, well, he better not go to the Saints because he'll hang around with the same crowd he's been hanging around with and he'll never make it. He needs to get far away. And he did. He went out to Arizona. But he came back to the state. And what an incredible moment when he comes back to the state. And in that first game that he plays for the Saints, the 3 Louisiana natives started the Who Dat chant. And for these 2 years, Tyronn Mathieu hasn't been an all-pro. He hasn't been the superstar that he was at LSU or the superstar that he was in Kansas City, where he's an all-pro, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. But he's been a consummate professional, an incredible teammate, pillar in the community, and everything you'd have never thought he could have ever been in that August 2012 press conference. That was the day where you would have said, if you were a reasonable person, like, he's never going to make it. He's too short. He was just a flair for the dramatic. He's a troublemaker. Thought he's above the law. Got multiple chances. Couldn't get it straightened out. Never going to make it. He made it. And the thing about Tyronn Mathieu, and I don't know Tyronn. Never met him. But I know people that know him. And I've watched from afar. And the crazy thing is that not only did he make it in the NFL, which is really all we were talking about at that point. It's a football conversation. Not only did he make it in the NFL, he's going to make it in the next chapter. He said that in the announcement. He's now set himself up financially to do whatever he wants. Whatever he wants. If he wanted to go buy a house in Malibu and sit on the beach for the next 40 years, he can. If he wants to coach tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow. If he wants to coach Friday, he probably can. High schools in New Orleans would love to have him. I'm sure there are college teams that would love to have him in the facility. There's one down the road. And I'm confident that New Orleans would like to have him around. He's set himself up and garnered that kind of reputation for himself out of a disastrous circumstance for a young person. At that age, with that level of fame, to disgrace himself to that degree and completely erase it over the next 13 years. It's been amazing, amazing to watch. And if you're an LSU fan, you've got one of the great seasons in the history of the school to remember. And then an NFL career to have admired. And if you're a Saints fan, in a tough time where you're trying to transition from the Breeze Payton era into a whole new world for you as the Saints, like, he came in and gave you everything he really had. I think that's evidenced today, that he just doesn't have anything else to give. Now, if there's some sort of injury or issue that, like, he just doesn't feel like he can be great, and that's why he's stepping away. Like, we don't have any. All we have is an Instagram post. I'm certain there will be a press conference later this week. But he gave you everything he had. And to me, that is an incredible legacy that he has left, and something that New Orleans natives, LSU fans and grads, and Saints fans can all be proud of in this state. And that is a rare thing, and to me is unique to Tyronn Mathieu. He's the only story I can think of that really sounds like that. Tyronn Mathieu hangs up his cleats from the National Football League and from football altogether today, making that announcement on the day the Saints report to camp. We'll talk in this week about what that means for the Saints moving forward at safety, and I'm confident kind of speak to Tyronn's legacy further as we move forward. This is very new, only broke about 15, 20 minutes ago, and we're relaying that message to you now. Tyronn Mathieu has retired from the NFL. All right, we'll keep things chugging along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We'll be back talking a little bit of LSU. What do the guards look like? I think it's a big, big spot for LSU. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Baton Rouge's home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right. I'm doing a series on LouisianaSports.net called In-Depth Chart, going through every position on the field as LSU gets ready to start fall camp, and started yesterday with center and continued that on today with guard. And I feel like guard is a huge, huge, huge piece to this LSU puzzle this year. Obviously, everyone is well aware that LSU has got to do a better job running the ball, but they've also got to do a great job in pass protection for a team that figures to throw the ball a lot. And you are replacing two guys that were exceptional in pass protection. Garrett Dellinger graded out an 80.8 last year in Pro Football Focus in pass protection. Like 80.8, which is incredible. Miles Frazier was 88.8. Like, I realize that not everyone loves Pro Football Focus. I know that not everyone understands Pro Football Focus, but I now have gotten into these weeds doing these stories for LouisianaSports.net, and like a lot of your grades are in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Like a grade of 74, like that's a nice day at the office. Like nobody scores a 94. Like that's almost unheard of. So to have a season-long pass protection grade of 88.8 for Miles Frazier is exceptional at right guard. And Dellinger, based on my conversations with some LSU staffers, was considered one of the best players on the offense last year. So yes, like they've got to run the ball better this year. I get it, but thinking that you'll just pick right up where Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier left off is a lot to ask. Those two guys started 80 college games between them. 80 college games. That is a lot. So what are you going to do replacing a 5th-round pick of the Lions and a 7th-round pick of the Ravens? Well, it's a couple of different things. One, what happens at center, which is what I talked about yesterday, and if Braylon Moore wins that job, which I anticipate he will, DJ Chester becomes available to play guard, and I think he will. Then what's the other guard? Is it Paul Mabenga, who started the last 5 games last year when Garrett Dellinger went down? Is it Josh Thompson? I think those are the two front runners, but if Weston Davis, who's the projected right tackle, and I'll talk tackles tomorrow, if he can't do the job, whether you find that out in fall camp or at Clemson, then you might have to kick Josh Thompson out to tackle. Thompson started at tackle for Northwestern in 2023. He started at guard for Northwestern last year. He can play both. He's an insurance policy at tackle. I think he's probably the favorite to start at guard. So that's Chester and Thompson at guard, with Mabenga being the swing guy there. You've got Ori Williams, who's fighting for a job. He was recruited kind of as a tackle, but he's moved to guard now. Cohen Eccles played a little guard and center last year in mop-up time for LSU. Bo Bordelon is now a redshirt junior. He played some guard in the spring. So you've got options here at guard. Your options are Chester, Mabenga, Cohen Eccles, Bo Bordelon, Josh Thompson, and Brett Bordelon, who's a freshman. Like basically 6 options. I think you really have 3. And the 3 gets pared down to 2 if Thompson's got to go play tackle. Now, if you look at the Pro Football Focus grades from last year, and again, this series is not going to be purely Pro Football Focus, but I can't give you a lot of highlights from guys playing right guard. Like I can tell you at wide receiver, yards per catch, touchdowns, explosive plays, what the skill set is, what the 40 time looks like. At running back, I can tell you what a guy's strength is between the tackles or whether he's good in the pass catching game. How many catches did he have? Tackles at linebacker, sacks at edge. Like there are statistics I can point to. For linemen, all I can really go by is what the guys who watch the tape tell me. And the guys that watch the tape tell me that Paul Mabenga last year played 438 total snaps. He gave up 23 pressures on 268 dropbacks. That number is very high. That number needs to come down. I look at Mabenga last year, and the numbers are very underwhelming for him when he was on the field. And that doesn't mean he can't play. Because Paul Mabenga grew up in his childhood in the Congo, and he played soccer. And then he came to the States in high school in Georgia, and he's 6'6", 300 pounds. They're like, well, maybe football's a good pick. And he's still got good feet, and he's still a pretty good athlete, but he isn't a polished offensive lineman. Now, from the time he steps off the field in the Texas Bowl to the time he steps on the field at Clemson, if he does, you're talking about 8 full months. So that's plenty of time for significant development for somebody who is a very, very talented guy. But you're talking about a guy who last year in pass protection graded out 43.4. You understand that's a very, very low number. Now, Thompson, who you're counting on to be kind of a swing guy here and likely a starting guard, in Big Ten games last year averaged 54.6 in the run blocking portion of the game. That's not great either. But you've got to find a way to get that done. You just have to. And development is part of that. And cohesiveness and working together is part of that. And play calling is part of that. I know for sure that going out to spring football, as opposed to fall camp last year, the looks they are giving in the running game are completely different. Xavion Thomas is back there. They're running a lot of counter stuff. They're doing some more read option. Nussmeier kept it a little bit more. Like, there's a lot more that we're seeing. That doesn't mean they're going to call it. But I can tell you at practice, when we go out there, LSU looks very different running the ball. But none of that stuff matters unless these guys on the interior of the offensive line can knock somebody the heck out of the way. And it's got to happen. Whether it's DJ Chester and Paul Mabenga because they're the most talented dudes, whether it's Josh Thompson because he's the highest floor, if Braylon Moore fits in or if he doesn't, like, all those are variables that Brad Davis has to get ironed out quickly. But they've got to get it done. And I told you this in the opening segment of the show today. I'm going to talk about it all August and harp on it the first 2 weeks of August, starting next Thursday. Like, I'm going to harp on it. We need to see consistency when we go out there in the guys that are lining up in position groups, namely the offensive line, like 10 days in. You want to shuffle them the first few days? Fine. But you need to get a group together that's ready to go play quickly. And injuries happen in camp, and you can't control that kind of stuff. And generally speaking, some offensive linemen miss some time. You're coming from running wind sprints all day, every day, to banging helmets every single afternoon and morning. Like, there are injuries and bumps and bruises that happen in camp, and you got to be physical, and you got to learn how to run the football, so you got to practice it. There's no way around it. But continuity in what they figure out on the interior of the offensive line is massive. Right now, it feels very much like your offensive line is at left tackle Tyree Adams, at left guard, probably DJ Chester, maybe Thompson, but I think Chester. Center, Braylon Moore, right, Thompson at guard, and right tackle is Weston Davis. That's right now what it feels like. They reserve the right to change that, and they've certainly had a lot of conversations off the field and in the film room since the last time we saw them in spring football line it up to go 11-on-11. But they need to get that group as ready as possible, because this is another talking point that's not going anywhere. This group of new dudes is going to have to go out there against 2 first-round picks the first game. On the road, in front of 84,000 that are screaming down your neck. And you can call it the fake Death Valley and say anything you want to from here in your ivory tower in Baton Rouge, but it's going to be really loud and really challenging for that group to go out there and run the football and protect Garrett Nussmeier. This is as massive a fall camp for an offensive line as I can ever remember. Because you have so much expectation, you have so much anticipation, you've got so much proven talent on the outside. I don't have to guess about Aaron Anderson. I don't have to guess about Chris Hilton. I don't have to guess about Berrien Brown. I don't have to guess about Caden Durham. I don't have to guess about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't have to guess about Tradez Green. I don't have to guess about Brower Sharp. Like, these are proven high-level skill position players all over the field. And if they are allowed to go do their thing, they're going to produce at a level that they have produced at in college. If they're not, LSU's going to lose a lot of games. That's just the fact of it. And so I realized that on its face, hearing a segment or reading a piece on LouisianaSports.net that highlights the offensive guards doesn't sound like the most interesting reading you've ever done at the end of July. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know if there's a more vital position group on LSU's roster currently in terms of their development over this next 6 weeks than the guards. Huge, huge fall camp for these guys. We'll see what they line up in a week from Thursday. We'll see what they settle on when they break for Clemson. There's some talent. There's a lot of experience from the transfer portal. You got to make it work. That's my look at LSU's offensive guards here as we continue our in-depth chart series on LouisianaSports.net and here on the Hunt Palmer Show. If you're looking for your LSU content, it's ramping back up. We're going to have an LSU content every single day as far as football goes from now through February. Hunt on LSU is where you can find all of it. Just subscribe to the channel if you want it to go right to your homepage and your feed. Go check it out there. It's Hunt on LSU, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast sound. All right, Rhett Lashley was talking again. He's taking shots at the SEC. Are they justified? Is he right? I'll give my thoughts on it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Airline at Piku. That's where you need to go. Airline at Piku. Across from Women's Hospital. Check out the facility. It's just first class. It's basically brand new. Walk in. Incredible ambiance. You feel like you're in a 5-star resort. They got the gorgeous rock waterfall. Got an awesome staff that's going to greet you as a guest, not a customer. If you're looking for snacks, they got you covered. The biggest, baddest coffee machine you will see in Baton Rouge, they've got that as well. You need to get some work done, you can get it done there. If you need to buy a car, you can get it done there. If you need some service, you can get it done there. If you don't want to go there, I get it. I don't, but I do. Some people just want to get along with their day. Handle their valet. They can do test drives remotely. They can come get your car for service once you make a purchase. All that can be done with our friends at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Parish Construction and Roofing. This is Coach Kim Mulkey. Go to parishbuilt.com for all of your roofing needs. From your hometown, parishbuilt.com.
Businesses like yours are the soul of our community. You deserve someone who'll deliver the internet services you deserve. That's why local businesses rely on Rev Business. 90 years of building connections. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team color, team swag, and now your very own website, LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always, no paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net, powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Luba Workers Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So a lot of media days are continuing this week. Brett Bielema spoke today from Big Ten Media Days, and Rhett Lashley was speaking today. And I don't. So I guess the ACC is cranking up today as well. I didn't see, but either way, he's talking. It may be a press conference, maybe media days. I didn't see. I just saw the quote, which is all that really matters. I don't care if he said it in Charlotte or Atlanta or Dallas. Doesn't matter. What Rhett Lashley said in arguing for basically making sure that all the playoff spots, or as many as possible, are earned by wins and losses in conference championships, as opposed to a committee that sits in a room and points to teams. That's what Lashley is advocating for. And the quote that has garnered the most attention from him is that the same 6 schools have won the SEC since 1964. Not a single one is different from 1964. That's top heavy. That's not depth. And I want to start with a preface here. Rhett Lashley doesn't have to believe what he says. Rhett Lashley's job is to serve his own interest. He's there to argue for his team, his program, his conference, because that's where he works. It's in his best interest to speak to that. It doesn't do him any good to trash his conference or to heap praise on the SEC or the Big Ten. So he's not going to. I'm not here to call him dumb. I'm not here to call him wrong. I'm not here to even suggest whether I know he believes what he's saying or doesn't. I'm just here to react to the statement that he gave that, and again, a quote, the same 6 SEC schools have won the conference since 1964. Not a single one is different from 1964. That's top heavy. That's not depth. And so my reaction to that, calmly, coolly, collectedly, would be, Rhett, what you're saying there is that LSU winning the league and Alabama winning the league and Auburn winning the league and Florida winning the league and Georgia winning the league and Tennessee winning the league is not a deep league. Well, there aren't 55 teams in a league. There were 12 for a long time, and then there were 14, and then there are now 16. And the two that have added it to 16 haven't had a chance to win it since 1964. They've had a chance to win it one time. So I have a hard time suggesting they don't add to a conference's depth when they've been in the conference for an hour and a half. Every college athletics conference has teams that have proud traditions and has teams that don't. And when we talk about crowning champions, we just simply don't have to cater to Vanderbilt. We don't have to cater to Kentucky. We don't have to cater to Duke. We don't have to cater to these teams that have been laughingstocks for decades. They show up, they put on their pads in August, they compete for 12 weeks, they lose a ton of games, they might go to a bowl game and celebrate, they might not, and they're not going to be good the next year either. And that's the way collegiate athletics has been forever and ever, amen. But to suggest that a league that has had 6, call them national powers, given a date and time, not deep and just top heavy, is insane. Do you know what top heavy means? The West Coast Conference in basketball, where Gonzaga's awesome and St. Mary's is pretty good and nobody knows on a given day what Pepperdine or Santa Clara is doing at all. And we don't have to worry about them crowning a championship at all. It doesn't matter. The SEC is insanely deep. And the top of the SEC, if you want to call it top heavy, laughs at the top of the ACC. In the middle of the SEC is better than the middle of the ACC. I'm not saying every time they play they're going to win. But to sit here and actively say out loud that having 6 schools do great things in football is not depth in a conference is disingenuous. It just is. I'll say it again, and so you can hear it as it flows. You're telling me that this is not depth. Well, LSU's won it and national championships, and Auburn's won it and national championships, and Alabama's won it and national championships, and Florida's won it and national championships, and Georgia's won it and national championships, and Tennessee's won it and a national championship, and say that's not a deep league. Come on, man. What you need? How many teams would need to win the league and national championships to make it deep? 10? You need 10? Well, look around. So we don't have any deep leagues? That doesn't make any sense. I understand that people got tired of the Southeastern Conference winning every single year. I understand that people hated watching the 9-6 game in Tuscaloosa and then a rematch where LSU didn't score a touchdown because they couldn't move the ball past the 50-yard line. I understand people don't like that. I understand that if you live on the West Coast or you live in the Midwest or you coach in the Big 12, that you're going to sit here and say, well, I think you got to look elsewhere. The SEC's just getting propped up. I think if you're Danny Cannell and you've made a Twitter parody account essentially on hating on the SEC, that's fine. You cannot like it. But to sit here and try to argue against the success of the league, you're just going to waste a bunch of breath. The top of the Big Ten is more than capable of competing with the SEC. Ohio State has proven it. Michigan has proven it. And I would contend that Penn State deserves a seat at the table with a lot of these programs. Or am I going to take Penn State against Georgia the next 5 years? I'm not. I'm not even going to take them against Texas the next 5 years. But do they deserve a seat at the table with LSU and Auburn and Tennessee and right now Florida? Yeah, that's fine. But then once you get to Wisconsin and Michigan State and Brett Bielema's Illinois team and the cute row the boat thing in Missouri, like, you lose me. This is a sport that doesn't have a lot of championship caliber programs. Why? Because in football, it is far less likely that the lesser team wins. So in basketball, you can spring some upsets and make some runs. In baseball, you can certainly do that as well. The lesser team wins far more often in baseball. But in football, with 85 guys, the big bad programs are going to bully the smaller programs. They just are. It doesn't happen every Saturday, but it does happen every year. So I know that you're here at SMU and that y'all had a cute run last year and that you've got your billionaire donors and all this stuff and that you want to self-serve SMU, and that makes all the sense in the world. So I'm not here to criticize Rhett Lashley for taking a position. But you need to come up with a better talking point than, well, they got like a lot of teams that win the conference and the national championship, and no one really wins national championships in this sport, but the SEC's got like lots of teams that can do it, so they're not really deep. That's a miss. It's a misfire. And I know that he brought up this, he came loaded for bear for this press availability thinking he had a good point. He didn't. He missed. He doesn't have to hit. That's not his job. His job's to win games for SMU. But if you want me to take you seriously, that's you got to do better than that. If you want to look at the Big 12 in the past and go, well, Texas and Oklahoma just do all of this. Why are we propping up Baylor and TCU and Oklahoma State and Kansas? That's a good talking point. Great. If you want to look at the old Pac-12 and go, well, look, this is all Oregon, brand new, and USC's history, but what are we propping up Stanford and Arizona for? Okay, that's fine. When you start rummaging through 6 programs that have done this and won multiple national championships, all that I was going back from since 1998. That's not even ancient history. You just lose a little bit of steam there, Rhett. That's all I'm saying. Taylor, you're sitting there listening to me. I'm assuming you feel a little more passionately than I do when I'm trying to be measured and say Rhett can protect himself at SMU. It's okay if he wants to talk up his program. But this just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're telling me that 6 schools in one league winning championships does not equate to depth.
Hell no, man. Find me 6 in the Big Ten.
You can't.
Like, I mean, Ohio State's been dominant.
So what would the list be? So Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Who's next? Wisconsin? They went to the Rose Bowl a bunch.
I mean, Oregon's never won anything.
Sorry, okay, so Oregon's definitely
but
in.
They still haven't won anything.
They weren't in the league, but yeah, so Oregon's definitely in, and USC's definitely in. So that's 5 for them. And then you would have to go to like Wisconsin.
Because
for the point of my discussion, I was talking about Oklahoma and Texas. Like, they haven't had a chance to win it, so I didn't include them. If I'm bringing them in, well, now all of a sudden I've got 8. Because they've won championships in the last 25 years, too. So I've now got 8. But, yeah, I mean, it's just there just aren't that many good historically dominant college football programs.
ACC's got 3.
3.
Maybe. Like Florida State, Miami.
Clemson.
That's it.
And the Big 12 is
nothing anymore.
It's a joke. So it's just Saban always had his agenda, and people push back against it. Like, he's like, we got to slow this down for pace of play when everybody knows he just doesn't want to play defense against it. We got to protect the student athletes. Everybody kind of poked holes in that, but at least he was buttoned up. This isn't even buttoned up. This is just a guy that's yelling at the clouds, trying to prop SMU up with the rest of it. No, we don't have to kowtow to South Carolina and Kentucky and Mississippi State. Nobody cares. But the Habs that are winning, we do need to make sure that their spot is adequately assessed every December, and the AC is going to lose that battle, and they need to, quite frankly. All right, we'll come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team, phenomenal folks to work with and deal with on the insurance side of things. It is storm season. And if your property policy was just the cheapest one you could find, do you know what your building evaluation looks like? Do you know what the co-insurance penalty could be if it's wrong? Do you know what your wind hail deductible is or named storm deductible is? All that stuff can be vital during storm season. And if you just went with the cheapest one and you don't really know what your broker's doing or how to contact your broker, I would potentially get a set of eyeballs on that. Not potentially, definitely would. And the Highland Insurance Group is happy to do that. That's free. They audit your policy. They make sure that it's in good hands because in this part of the world, the next storm's always coming. Thankfully, the one that just kind of came through ended up being an insignificant event, relatively speaking. The next one could not be that. So call Jonathan and his team or check him out online at highlandig.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
River Parish Contractors has immediate openings for structural steel shop fabricators. Call or text Big Jake today at 318-547-1000 or go to rpcontractors.com and click on employment. River Parish Contractors. Let's get building.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Flight by Yingling is raising the bar by crafting the next generation of light beer. With only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Flight by Yingling. Raise the bar.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luva, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Man, a great picture that Brandon Taylor, my guy BT that works with me on the LSU Sports Radio Network for pre and post game, just put up on his Facebook. It's a picture of him, Eric Reed, Tyronn Mathieu, Morris Claiborne, and Ron Brooks sitting on a bench in Tiger Stadium, full uniform. And BT captioned, "End of an era. Job well done, fellas. DBU, LSU football." If you missed this earlier, Tyronn Mathieu stepping away from football on the day the Saints report to camp, put on his Instagram, hanging up his cleats for good. And that's the end of the era for that incredible secondary from 2011. BT is going to join us tomorrow on the show to talk about it. Very much looking forward to that. I know that I've heard T-Bob talk in absolutely glowing terms about Tyronn as the best teammate he ever had at LSU. And it'll certainly draw a lot of emotion, a lot of response from South Louisiana, really Louisiana as a whole, I should say, on this day, because Tyronn had such an amazing career at LSU that was obviously cut short because of bad decisions. But he rebounded from all that and turned in a sensational professional career that fittingly ended right where his football career started in New Orleans. So Tyronn steps away. I'm sure Moose will have more on that on AFR later today. We talked about it at the top of hour number 2. You can certainly catch that on demand wherever you find your sound. A lot of Tyronn reaction coming. We've got a story up on LouisianaSports.net. I think Matt, who's flying to vacation currently, is going to write a column for LouisianaSports.net on that as well. And then we'll have a lot of reaction, I'm sure, on the station today and tomorrow moving forward. Tyronn Mathieu retiring from the NFL effective immediately. One more order of business here on this Tuesday. We'll take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Presented by Flight by Yingling, brewed in the oldest brewery in America. It is built for Louisiana weekends, grilling, boiling, fishing, playing golf, watching the game. Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer.
All right, on first one, Yasir Roseman was hired by LSU basketball in April and took a job with his alma mater, Oregon, on Monday. Big loss for LSU hoops. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. It's not a backbreaker for the season, obviously, but you don't want to lose a coach in the middle, late almost at this point, July. School starts in a couple of weeks. And obviously you don't play a game until beginning of November, but Matt McMahon now loses an on-bench assistant who they just hired. He was in Indiana previously. He's coached at Clemson, at Alabama. Obviously well thought of after 20 years of coaching, but when home calls, you generally listen. And there was an opening there at Oregon on the bench, and he takes it. So Matt McMahon's now got to scramble a little bit and try to fill that spot, and we'll see what he decides to do there. I know Keith Hornsby just joined the staff. I don't know if that's in any sort of official capacity on the bench, and maybe it's a deal where he gets an opportunity because of timing, or maybe you go hire somebody, but we'll see what Matt McMahon decides to do.
All right, we all know about Shamar Stewart sitting out with the Cincinnati Bengals due to a contract dispute. Well, the veterans in Cincinnati reported today Trey Hendrickson was not one of them due to his contract holdout with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow will never make the playoffs again in Cincinnati. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that.
Leave it alone.
But I don't feel good about it because they just... I hesitate to say they just do everything on the cheat because they clearly did not with Joe or Jamar or T. Higgins. I would just suggest they did it wrong. And you've got an unbelievable quarterback who, he's better with two Pro Bowl wide receivers, but what's the defense going to look like? You fired Lou Anarumo, he's left, and your defense was terrible last year, and now your best defensive player is a holdout, and you drafted one in the first round, and he's not in camp either. And I can't possibly fathom that anybody in Cincinnati thinks this is a great way to do business, to have one side of the ball so grossly underperform, then fail to address it because of finances. Like, you're just not doing things the right way, and it's always easier to win when your quarterback's on that rookie deal. Joe comes off that rookie deal, and now Cincinnati's back to where they always were, which is not being able to make people happy with the checkbook, and that's a bad place to be.
Yeah, I didn't like the T. Higgins signing. Like, I know Joe championed for him to come back. Sometimes you have to say, too bad, man. Let us do our job. All right, Jimbo Fisher, it was announced this morning, he is joining the ACC network as a college football analyst. Closed captioning is a must for the network now. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Look, I've been told this a lot in my fairly brief broadcasting career. I talk way too fast. That's just the way I've always talked, and I talk at, you can take the podcast and go like down 1x, 2x, 3x. Like, I'm minus 3x from Jimbo. So, like, he's going to have to tone it down. You get told if you get to do like a reading in church or reading at a wedding, like, slow down. And that's always a good idea because our minds get going and we want to go fast and get it over, and people are nervous and that stuff happens. But if Jimbo talks at Jimbo speed, as far as on the desk, or even more so if he's a color analyst at some point, that will not hunt. So you got to figure out somehow, some way to slow the man down. But I do think it's a great hire because Jimbo knows a ton about football and wants to be in football and wants to be passionate about it. There's some guys, they finish up what they're doing, they make a lot of money in their career, and heavens knows Jimbo's made a lot, and you're like, all right, I'm done. Like, okay, you want me to do this thing, I'll half-ass it. Some people are like, no, I want to be the best at this. And so I think Jimbo will try, but whether or not he can slow down, that's a big question.
All right, that's it.
And for Take It or Leave It, brought to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer. Man, a busy show, and I didn't even get to one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which now I don't even remember because I deleted off the rundown when Tyronn retired. But there's more content to be had, and there is I want to talk about Jimmy Graham briefly. Jimmy Graham stepped away from the NFL officially. he kind of already done that when he stepped away and then got on a boat and sailed to wherever he sailed to. But Jimmy's retirement upstaged just a touch today. Jimmy Graham, one of the best players in Saints history, the first real Pro Bowler of the Drew Brees era on offense. Eventually, Mark Ingram made it as an alternate. Colston never made it. I would suggest the most talented player outside of Michael Thomas that Drew Brees ever threw to. And a guy that was a great player and a great draft pick by the Saints to identify him as basically a basketball player who could come in and be a matchup nightmare at 6'7" with elite athleticism. So Jimmy Graham steps away, not breaking news because he didn't play last year, but a guy that deserves his moment and will be a Saints Hall of Famer and potentially in the Ring of Honor because of what he did in such a short time there. It was a jarring trade when they sent him to Chicago, sent him to, or was it Seattle? Chicago or Seattle? Seattle with Unger. Yeah. Huge career for Jimmy Graham, and he steps away. But Tyronn overshot him just a bit today with the abrupt retirement, a guy that was actually on the active roster. So shout out to both for great NFL careers. That's it for us here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Talked about Blake Baker's interview with the morning show guys at the top of the show. Sharif Ishak talking Saints at 1:15. Talked to Glenn West. Tyronn Mathieu retired. That's there at the top of hour number 2. You can find it at Hunt on Saints wherever you find your sound, and certainly Hunt on LSU probably as well. LSU's guards on the offensive line. That's a big position group for this LSU team. I broke it down at 2:15. You can read that at LouisianaSports.net as well. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to step away. Musso is going to drive you home on AFR. I'm back tomorrow, same time, same place for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected.